Hello and welcome to the Legends of Tabletop podcast. We have a different kind of episode tonight. This is more of a systems design episode sort of thing. Jesse has more or less completely rewritten Runner since we started playing. So our last episode was the end of season one. So we are going to remake the characters using the new system, which isn't terribly different than the old system, but there is some slight mechanical and grammatical changes. That's the right. So we're going to be doing that tonight. So this may not be an episode for you. We're not actually playing a game tonight, but restatting our characters and the runner suits and explaining changes and things like that. So if you find that interesting, great. You feel free to follow along or just punt on this one, and we'll catch you when season 2 starts.
Just make sure you download it first to jack those numbers up.
Ring that bell. Smash the like and subscribe button. All right, I'm just going to kick it over to you, and yeah, you can walk us through the process here.
Right on. Yeah, so the process, it's going to be, very similar to making a quote unquote new character. But what we're going to do is along the way discuss some of the changes and the reasons behind the changes, just so I can make it evident to you guys why it's happening, and hopefully it makes sense and you agree with it of why I made those changes, and that way we can all understand better the mechanics going forward and kind of what I'm trying to accomplish with the game.
Nope, I hate it. I don't like it already.
All right, well, fuck you then. You can quit.
We'll do this my character sheet for me.
You, God damn it.
Doing all the work for me. I don't want to do this stuff.
I did my own podcast. I didn't like it. All right, so yeah, going we'll go right from the very beginning. So let me open up my character sheet just so
just
I can...
a scant 4,000 years ago.
Right? I mean, crap. Honestly, I was thinking about it earlier today, and it's been like 4-ish years that Runner's been being made so far.
Has it been?
Yeah, I think
that
so.
Doesn't seem right.
I'm pretty sure.
Let me see. The first one that I have saved is, I think, version 0.5.
That makes sense.
Shit. Let me go. It's in the outdated file now. That was 1/14/22. So that would be pushing 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
But
it was also in the work for almost a year before I put that PDF together.
Yeah,
it was just living in a Google Doc for a long time.
I've got a 21.
Oh, so 12/4/21.
I got 12/2.
Ooh. Yeah, so it was probably about a year or so before that. So we're looking at 2020 at that point. So yeah, it's going on 3 years. So, but anyway, I digress. So with the new character sheet now, I really tried to kind of simplify everything and block it down. And the order that everything goes in the book has now changed a little bit too. When it comes to character creation, because I want to put the emphasis on the important things first. All right. So kind of working from the most important to the least important. So that is why I put, your skills or your training first, then shapers, then stats. Because I feel like from a character perspective, from the narration, that's kind of what makes the most importance.
But skills are based on stats, just to play devil's advocate, right?
They are, yes, but no.
I mean, less so now.
Less so now. So one big change, and the reason, kind of one of the main reasons for redoing the characters, is there's no longer a list of skills that you choose from, right? So now it's a little bit more free form, a la Fate Core, or was it Lady Blackbird, things like that, where you kind of come up with what you believe is best to describe your character. I'm still bouncing around with name, honestly. I have it down as training right now. I might go back to skills. It's all nomenclature. It doesn't really make a huge difference, but whatever kind of suits it best. But regardless,
we could probably come up with another name. Yeah.
But so now everything falls under the main header of tags. So in a tag, your training is a tag. Your shapers are tags. Minor effects are tag. A tag is anything that affects positively or negatively your character's actions.
Very much like Fate, then.
Yes, exactly. So the first thing that we're going to go over is your character's training. It can be pretty much anything from their past that affects what they do now. You could have been a soldier. You could have been a scientist, a medic, an engineer, a demolitions miner, like anything like that. Can, if it's significant enough that you think it could provide a bonus to your character, then it's worthwhile putting down on your character sheet. The cost and everything is the same as what you would do for your for skills previously, but we'll go over that. But in general, I suggest take two things that you'll have trained in, and we'll apply a number to them afterwards. So let's go around the horn. Let's start with John. What do you think would best suit Huxley?
So looking at what's on the sheet, he started with both biology and med tech. So I think either medic or nurse, or I wouldn't say physician, because I don't think that, I don't know that he would technically qualify as a physician.
Right. That seems a little high end.
But medic for sure. I don't know, if you want to do EMT, because I think even that might be a level above perhaps where he is. But my thought was medic.
Yeah, medic works.
Which may then encompass both of those things, right? Because you would have to know biology, anatomy, those sorts of things.
Exactly.
Which would sort of potentially roll up underneath that, right? Biology in that sense wouldn't help if let me know what kind of flower this might be, right? Straight biology, maybe you can make that roll, but if it's being rolled under medic, then it would be more pertinent to people stuff.
Right, yeah. Which I think was the initial reason for him having biology in the first place anyway. You weren't looking for animals and plants and people, things like that. You were looking for people, so.
Yeah.
And that's also one of the things that I'm shooting for with this newer idea, is you're going to be able to roll in multiple skills into kind of one concept. It's going to make these a lot more freeform and a lot more useful, instead of just being okay, well, I have, for instance, you also have points in mechanic and electronics, right? those two can now kind of be rolled into a single training instead of being two individual skills.
So what would you want to call that then? More like engineering? Or right, because that was a sticky wicket. Like the medic thing was easy, but then the other ones, right. I'm like, well.
Well, I mean, I think that kind of still rolls under mechanic. Because if you think about it, right, if you bring your car to a mechanic, you're also going to assume that they're going to be able to do the electronics and all that kind of stuff as well. So
it's almost like the difference. It was always the difference between first aid versus, healing kind of thing. Maybe
first aid versus medicine. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so maybe med tech or something. Cause it's not just, it's the other stuff on top of just your medical knowledge. It's knowing what a scalpel does, knowing what a clamp does, and doing it the right way, doing it the right way kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, because med tech was an actual skill before.
It was,
yeah. Because that's what I had.
I mean, you can still use that. You can still use that name. It just now has a little bit more of a broader concept to it.
Yeah, we could do that. So you do med tech and mechanic then?
Yeah, sounds good.
So
and don't worry about numbers right now. We'll assign those after.
Well, I was going to say, for me, that frees up 20 XP because then I wouldn't have to spend biology and electronics then.
Exactly, yeah. Go ahead.
So I was going to say those were base skill, so that's what he started with. And then since then he's added firearms and awareness. So I don't know. Like I wouldn't consider him a gun bunny, right? Like if someone's character concept was to be the soldier or the guard, the watcher, the muscle, right? Something like that makes sense. But to have a skill in firearms, what does that translate into then for a
it really all depends on the type of training and the reason for the training, I feel. If you are coming at it from a trained soldier or like a trained martial type character, then something like that, like combat or something like that, or soldier could be appropriate.
See, that's not Huxley.
Right. Yeah. For me, I feel like especially you could probably actually roll like the firearms and the awareness into one, doing something as simple as survivalist or something like that, or scout could work.
Scout maybe, because I don't see him as a survivalist per se, right?
Right. Like
he's just some kid who's running around by dumb luck.
Yeah.
But
if you are the one that kind of plays more into the back, we have Smokey and Zuchi who are like forward, frontline fighters almost. So
Zuchi, for sure.
if Hux is the one kind of hanging back, I think Scout might make a lot of sense.
Okay. So that'll encompass both of those things then?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, that frees up another 10 XP.
See, there you go. Yeah. All right. What about Zuchi then? So you had a few different ones as well. You had acrobatics, athletics, intimidation, fighting. I think we could definitely roll
most of
at least a few of those all into a couple of different skills.
Yeah, the only thing is that now that I'm thinking about it, like I don't know what I would label him for training, because like that we haven't really discussed it at all, actually.
Yeah.
So that's the part where I'm like, well, shit, what really was he, or is he?
Well, I think it all depends on, it all comes from, and this is, I think, one of the things I like too, is that moving it from a purely skills, getting into that microcosm of like, this is their skills, to this is their overall training, or this is their they're becoming more general, is that it feeds more into the character. So with this, rather than being like he's good at acrobatics and athletics and fighting, like digging into where that training comes from opens up more of the character's background and story.
Yeah.
So I think really getting into why or how Zuchi has those skills can really kind of feed what that training is.
Yeah. Well, the first thing, well, again, I don't think I have a good name for it, but I think when it comes to his background and him being part of a big family, and even though he's kind of the middle child, he did a lot for his family. What did that did? They're all dead, but I would say like provider, maybe, like, because he just
all right,
he
Protector?
had to kind of maybe protector, yeah, because he had to do what he had to do to keep his family. Yeah, so maybe a protector more than provider.
I like that. It almost gives it gives the sense of, you're the one who took the beatings and gave them out in order to, protect the rest of your brothers and sisters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like if there was somebody else picking on them, or somebody bigger, or any, somebody trying to steal something from them, you were the one that threw yourself in line.
Yeah. Yeah. For better or for worse there as well. So.
Right. Yeah, true. I like that. Yeah, so Protector I think would definitely be an awesome one. Is there and honestly, I kind of think that at least Protector could definitely roll in the intimidation and the fighting, and potentially also the athletics. But is there another type of training that could potentially explain, the acrobatics and athletics as well?
If you're tying it into, if Zuchi's going to tie it into his narrative, because as you said, I think leaving these open lets you build more narratively, where you're just not staring at stats and saying, okay, my guy does this and fitting into that. So if you're protector, maybe also all of your other skills, either your acrobatics and all that kind of stuff, that maybe survivor, do it that way, because you're just not one type of fighting, your acrobatics, and there's all kinds of different things. Maybe that's something to I'll get into a bar fight, I'll get into sneaking up on someone, I'll get into some kind of vibe like that, where you're doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and technically that was one of my life shapers in this previous iteration that we had. It's basically, I just wrote, I survived so others can too. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, all right. So one thing I was thinking, so Zuchi lost his family, right? How long ago?
I don't think it's like years ago. I've been a lot of years ago. I'll just say it's like more recent.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
it doesn't
more
have,
recent.
So, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was thinking about just like 10 years ago. That's still
okay.
a long ways away, but
yeah. Well, the reason I ask is because, if he has potentially been on his own, especially from a younger age, it could be kind of not to necessarily play into tropes, but the like Aladdin street rat kind of thing of, you have to be, and it could also be, similar to the Protector, but you always have to be quick on your feet. You have to be able to both get into a fight quickly, but also to get away quickly. Like once you've gotten yourself in the way, you know, and the other person, you know, gets away, well, all right, you can't necessarily take on 4 guys at once. You might be able to take out 1 or 2 of them, but then you got to get out of there too.
Yeah. So maybe that even more solidifies that the survivor should be the other one, just because that I think it all kind of plays into that. It's like anything you have to do to survive. So it's like if I have to do stuff for my mind, body, and soul, that's what I'm going to do to, you know, make sure that I get out of there and, you know, again, protect and help roll into my other one where I can help protect other people as well.
Right. Yeah. I like it. And have you taken any training on, like, have you developed any skills while we were playing? I can't remember if you've either put more points into something or if you've gained a new skill.
Yeah, I put another point into fighting, so he's got fighting +2 now.
All right, cool. So we'll just deal with that. We'll deal with the numbers after then.
Yep.
That makes that a little easier. All right, Smokey. So it looks like I don't know if you've picked up anything new, but you started off at least with demolitions and engineering.
Yes. Smokey's very, very, he's a basic bitch, so I stayed with those two.
And now where did those skills come from?
Well, I think what we were saying, because we were building the narrative about where we were and what the town used to be. So I think we said mining.
Mm-hmm.
Because that fit into what the overall. So I think for the engineering and the demolitions, it was both mining.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that might be kind of the best bet.
Yeah.
Going something along that route. You know, if whether or not you want to be like a strict demolitionist or if you want to be a miner or something like that, you know, I think.
Yeah, that's a thought, because I was thinking, you know, the demolitions could be demolitions, military demolitions, you know, building, you know, that kind of thing. But it was definitely mining, and the engineering was that too. So I didn't. Yeah, I guess I'll have to play with whether he was you know, he was digging in the dirt and then became the demolitions guy from just learning and training up, or he was brought in because he blows stuff up and. You know, the mining came on afterwards, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think with the way I was playing it would be he was just someone who was digging in the ground and was curious and kept doing it for long and, you know, gained the knowledge and to become a demolitions guy with that.
You worked your way up the ladder.
Yeah.
Nice. So that rolls basically 2 skills into 1 training.
Okay.
Is there maybe something else that you want to? I don't know if we've really delved too further than that into Smokey. But you know, now might be our chance, honestly.
Yeah. So so if we're going to put that training down, we just put mining down, and then we would just expand from there to take into consideration what that means, whether that's engineering or demonstration. Okay.
Yeah,
like
I think you should change it to. I think you should change it to Kaboom Boy. I think that's what you should change it to.
Boom.
Well, right, like, because your engineering could be like if we were trying to traverse, you know, an unstable building, you know, you could apply your knowledge of engineering for where you would place charges, right? It's almost like a reverse, like, oh, I can see where this would collapse if I did this, this, and this. So we should walk over here then, guys, because this looks more stable, right?
Yep.
And I think we did play with that a couple times and some of the things we ran into. So that just makes perfect sense. For if I wanted to do a different, you know, another one, since those are kind of rolled into one, I'm just trying to think, you know, because the life shapers we had was, you know, he likes to blow stuff up, but he also wants to make sure everyone else he's with is safe, kind of thing. So I'll have to try to play with that, because I think that plays into it with his relationship with the guys is, always keeping an eye on them, making sure everything's all right. So obviously I think Zachi makes more sense for the protector thing just from his whole backstory, but it'd be something like that. And whether that's, this isn't what I want it to be, but team lead or something like that.
That's what
out
I was
in
going to
front.
say.
Yeah, out in front, or that kind of thing.
Well, what we could do,
Leadership
because
or
we've never
something.
really touched too much on. All right, well, actually, we've done it a bunch, but never really talked a lot about it. Smokey is a rather social butterfly,
Yeah.
I was going to
right?
say
Like
smooth
you're the
operator.
one, right? Like
Right.
you are kind of the face,
I was
right?
going to say, I can
And
be
like,
the face.
yeah, like you're the one who has a lot of the in-town connections. You frequent the bars, you know the locals. So like, that honestly in and of itself could definitely be
That makes sense.
something, carousing or
Well, he's middle age because he's 33, so he does know. Right. For the time and place, he's kind of old compared to everyone else. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
All right,
Cool.
like as a tag could be charmer, smooth operator,
Yeah.
well connected like that, and
Right, yeah.
well connected might be something else, but
Yeah.
you are the that's exactly where I was going, Jesse.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because the way we've played it. And yeah, so that I think that fits in really good.
So that would encompass like your persuasion, your fast talk, like any of those kind of social role, maybe
Exactly,
even insight too, right? Because
Well, if we go to some
a lot of
place,
people,
what are the chances that Smokey knows of this place or someone here, that kind of thing, connections, all that kind of thing.
Yep.
Where they fucking
just like scoping out a bar, you can kind of see from everyone's position and social circle and all that kind of stuff who the person to talk to is.
Yeah.
Body language.
So, that makes
exactly.
a lot of sense. Cool. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So after training, the next thing is shapers. They're pretty much the same. The only thing that changed is a slight naming convention. Is I'm not necessarily getting rid of, but changing motivators and complicators to more
edge and
connect all the tags together. So in a tag, like I said, there's either something positive, something that adds a bonus, or something that provides a penalty. I call those edges and snags. Something that gives you an edge or something that snags you up. So in the shapers, instead of motivators and complicators to universalize the language, you now have an edge shaper and a snag shaper. So you're just going to take whatever your motivator was, turn that into an edge. Whatever your complicator was, turn that into a snag. That's it.
Okay. So for completeness sake, then, so Huxley's helper focus, I can fix it becomes my not snag. What's the fuck's it called? Edge. And then innocent can be easily distracted would be my snag. And then we added also home as a motivator, have to make it home, like for Miss Joanna sort of thing. So I don't know if that could be either or, right? Like that could be either or, honestly. So I don't know.
That was my question I was going to ask too, but
I don't know. Interesting. That is very interesting.
Because it's kind of both.
It is.
Like it would be a motivator for me and by extension the group, since they've become responsible for Huxley.
Right. Well, also it's one of those things where, it being your motivation, so to speak, to get home could either be your drive, right? It's what gets you going, right? It gives you an edge. But it could also blind you where, the only thing I want is to just get home, and you overlook a bunch of other things because of that.
I don't feel like he's that focused on anything. Honestly, right? I mean, I don't think he would be that driven by one particular thing. Like maybe the helper part, right? But even that is almost plays into the easily distracted. Because it's like, oh, well, I can fix this. Oh no, I could do that. If I'm going to start this, then I got to do that. Like it's kind of this. It's not the same. But.
Well, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna. What about this then? All right. So you say it's not something he wouldn't necessarily be, as focused on something like that, right? So why don't we leave this up to some progressive character generation? Put Home down as a shaper, right? But because we don't necessarily know whether or not it will be an edge or a snag, we won't fill that in until it comes into play and it becomes a little bit more defined. So right now it's not a fully conveyed shaper, right? It's not something it's not a main driving factor for him, but it has the potential to be.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
So we'll leave it open for now, and once we develop it a little bit more, then we can kind of round that out.
Okay. And what do you got there, Kurt?
So I kind of kept what I had from before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it still kind of works. The only thing I'm worried about is that one of them was that survivor. Is that something is that a cheat if I keep that as exactly that edge on there, or is it something you're looking for something else?
No, that's perfectly fine. If there's overlap between kind of shapers and training, that's totally fine. They play into the mechanics completely different anyway. And also, if there's some uniformity in that character process, that's totally fine. Like your shaper and your training are kind of playing into each other. So if they're feeding off one another, that's perfectly fine.
Okay. Yep. So I'll keep that then.
Sweet.
The edge for that, and then the snag would be too proud. So basically, just going into danger without thinking. If people have listened to this podcast or have watched these videos actually so far, and saw what the end of this last season actually befell me, then you know that's exactly what happened. So, and I don't think there's anything else that right now, especially since we're kind of in the infancy of Zuchi, that I don't think there's anything else that kind of fits that right now. I mean, I'm sure it may be something in the future, but
yeah. And honestly, I don't ever, we've had long-term campaigns with core before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at Day Trippers. What that, like 4 or 5 years, something like that. And the most the character ever had was like 3 life shapers.
Yeah.
So
because we eliminated a bunch because like Nash had, I don't know, like 5 or whatever.
Oh, really?
We haven't touched this one. We haven't touched this.
Yeah,
this is dumb.
Yeah, so honestly, I'd rather keep the numbers small to like 2 or 3 because that, obviously these are like the main factors of your personality. So only having 2 or 3, I think, totally makes sense. So, if a character develops more as they go, awesome. If they change along the way, perfect. But I don't feel like we have to add a life shaper like every 10 sessions or something. I don't feel like putting numbers on it or anything like that.
No. So. And I feel like that wouldn't matter unless there's like a significant change somehow, and it just if their personality or life kind of takes that left turn or whatever, then I could see it, but otherwise it doesn't.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what the shapers are supposed to be. They're supposed to mark significant periods in the character's life. So
yeah, and
sweet.
If you think about it, most unless your character is like really, really young, most adults don't really change that much. So it's gonna,
Right,
you're gonna keep those life shapers the rest of your life.
Yep.
Because
Except,
You're just grinding, right? I mean, it's the same thing day in and day out, even in a post-apocalyptic world, right? It's like, get up, make sure there's no, X's wandering through town. Okay, get some food, maybe go out on a run. Like it's the same shit.
Yeah. And I mean, if something is going to change, it's going to be over years, right? Like, you think about like, I'm not necessarily the same person I was before, but you have to go back like 10 or 12 years for that. Like, we've in runners, we've played what, 3 months in game, if that. So like, I don't really expect any life altering changes in 3 months. So
well, right, I mean, it's like, a wedding, a birth, a death, like a new job, right? Like it's a little bit different because of the way the setting works, but it's a similar kind of thing. It's something that changes or pivots the way the character goes about their business,
right?
Whatever. It's not like, oh well, Marla fucked us over, so that's a life shaper or whatever. We found out that she's a clone, so that's a thing. Is no, like if we made an arch enemy of the clone people at Tazane, well, maybe that's a life shaper, but like, if it doesn't rise to that level, it's
right.
It's not,
like these are also your, shapers are your outlook on life, right? So unless your viewpoint drastically changes, I don't really see the necessity to change a life shaper. So that being said, Smokey.
Have for the, I guess for an edge, I'll put in, wants to protect everyone with me. So maybe when we're playing, that gives it a bit more when we're in those situations where I've got to look out for everybody, or, do an action or make a decision to, for everyone else's safety. So I would go with that as an edge. And I guess the fact that he's just a bit hair trigger with, if they get stuck in something, he's going to throw something to try to blow it up to get it out of the way. I was going to play that as the edge, but that seems like it's a bit cheating. So, I wouldn't really think, watching the world burn really isn't an edge. So, that'll be the snag.
Yeah.
He could have another snag of Miss Joanna.
Yeah, right.
Bring Huxley home, beat his ass. Right?
That's really good.
I like that because it, I feel like the, Smokey's protector aspect kind of plays into, potentially why he, what he did rising up the ranks with the mining and everything like that. Your engineering, your all that kind of stuff was to make sure everybody was as safe as possible, doing whatever you can. At the same time, maybe that snag of watch the world burn, maybe you have that outlook because of maybe the reason why you ended up leaving the mines, which we never really got into. Like, if you think about it, Smokey left a pretty cozy, comfortable job. Like, that was a lifelong career that he could have stuck with. And all of a sudden, he left that for some reason and became a runner, which is the most dangerous, deadly job anyone in this world can have. There was a reason for that. And I think his Watch the World Burn is the reason for it. And that's interesting.
Maybe there was like a supervisor or like, a management group that like, people died, like you're coming up and you're mining, you're doing stuff. And you're like, hey, we probably shouldn't do that. And they do it. And then something bad happens. And you're like, all right, well, I don't want to fucking be down here anymore. So I'm going to learn this thing so I can get out of that position. And like, it just keeps happening. And there's just this this group that eventually you're like, you know what, no matter what I do, I can, go in every day and protect these guys. And then they're just going to make a decision that's going to fucking kill a bunch of people. So like, you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Because that kind of stuff doesn't happen.
Never. Especially in mines. That's never a thing. Oh, all right. Nice.
I mean, feel free
see,
to just punt that out the window, Kevin.
No, and I think to Jesse's point, so I think it's just a matter of which way we want to spin that. Do we want it to be
right? Yeah,
he's trying to get away from something, he's running away from something, or he's running to something. Is it the push or pull kind of thing? So I think the way you framed it is one way, and then there's another way to play it. So I just want to chew it over to see which one. I guess I was going to say which one is the fun one to play with, but the topic really isn't fun. But you know what I mean. Whatever.
Yep.
Whatever is a good one.
I think ultimately it comes down to the reason, right? Like, was it because of other people? Was it because of, like John said, just constantly watching the churn of them thinking about the goal, about the profit, about that over the people, or was it something that Smokey did? Like, was it something that happened in the mines? Was it something that went wrong that, maybe he didn't have a direct, it wasn't his reaction that did anything. Maybe it's not his responsibility. Maybe it is. We have no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll throw this on top. So if it winds up being that you left because of other people, then that could then, in theory, color the way that you think about the organization, because you're like, oh, they're just like them. They sent us out in these shitty suits. They're not giving us, we didn't get enough training, or we didn't get enough resources, or they didn't give us good enough filter, right? Like, I would imagine that would color your perception of the organization. Or maybe it's a wait and see, right? Maybe it's, well, I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt until they fuck me, and then you know what? Like, then it's on.
And I think the way I was thinking it also was what we were saying was, Jesse was saying, I went from a pretty, quote unquote cushy job, as cushy as can be, right? Being a miner, and
right? Yeah, exactly.
To one of the most dangerous. And maybe it's okay. My duty is to go save these schmucks because they don't know how bad they have it. Right? I'll go join the organization because no one's looking out for them, and they need someone to look out for them. So that's what I mean. It's just which way I want to come at it. So yeah. And you're right. I think that is coming up with that good motivation of why. So, and I think those are all, I think we've come at it from all the different ways of which way to play it. Now it's just like which one I want to build on, and like I said, which one I want to play with. So yeah, I got that all noted. Yeah. So that's good.
And that's also, I mean, the one thing I like about that is that I am all for developing character background, right? We have with pretty much all, I mean, Huxley's background is a little bit more fleshed out. We still don't quite know why he was left out, why he was abandoned, what happened there. I don't think I know, though. I don't think you've ever told me.
I told you.
Did you? Oh, well, I don't remember.
Okay, well, then we'll leave it as it's a secret. Nobody knows.
There you go. It hasn't come out in game yet, so.
I mean, he wouldn't remember.
True, right? Yeah,
because he was very young.
Yeah, but we don't really know a lot about Zuchi's life. We know vaguely what happened to his family, but we don't really know what he's been doing for the last 8 or 10 years. Why he joined the organization, why he became a runner. Same thing with Smokey. We have a vague idea of what he did in his, for a career. We don't know why he left it, so having that stuff come out in game is kind of, I'm fine with having vague backgrounds with kind of general ideas, and then having that then develop during gameplay.
And I think this
So.
is a good time to do that, right? So, you come in at the beginning of the game and you have all these ideas and have all these threads you want to pull, but once you start playing, maybe some of them go by the wayside or you forget. Having having this reframing of redoing the characters, we can put some focus back on that, move that forward. So I think that this is a good time for that.
Yeah. All right. So we have training, we have shapers. Next is the stats. I don't really see these changing. Nothing game-wise or mechanically changed with these. You can keep your stats how you had them. If you feel like maybe they belong somewhere else, you can change them up a little bit. Totally up to you. But nothing in the math or anything like that changed with these. The only thing that I have, is that I just, if we were designing brand new characters, just, pick the one thing, and they're tied into, and that's also why I do the training first in the book, is figure out kind of the exemplary stat for that training. Granted, training, because of the way it's so broad, the reason I like to disassociate it from the stats so that you can use it in multiple scenarios. Like Zuchi's protector, it can be used for intimidation, it can be used for fighting, it can be used for a few different things, and those are all different stats, so they can provide bonuses in different ways. But if we are creating new characters, I would just say, what would your concept of the predominant stat for this be? That should probably be your highest. Pick another training that should probably be your second highest, and then choose a dump stat. It's a thing. Even when if you don't want to do point buy, you can do the 4-3-2-2-2-1. You're going to have your 4 and your 3, and then you're going to have your 1. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless you're John and you're going to throw 2s and everything.
Twos and 3s and everything. Because I can't. So like a 3 is a nice number there, because realistically, you're not going to play someone who's got 6 in a stat. Probably not going to play somebody with 5 unless you're super specialized in like one thing, which I would never play a character like that, clearly. But 3 is a nice number. It gives you 3 dice. If you have skills, you're adding those numbers. Like it's a real nice middle ground, where 2 is like, I'm not really great at this, but I might be able to pull it off. But 3 feels solid, right? Like you should probably succeed at something,
Yeah. And the math's all the same for the most part. I didn't change anything. I actually did end up changing the back level, like the advancement costs, but only in the high end. So it's not a big. I think I maybe played around with the cost for 5s and 6s. But like John said, almost nobody ever has a 5 and a 6 because the cost is just so exorbitant. So,
and again, unless that's super tied into your key concept, like Reggie had, +4 in lucid dreaming, because that's what he was super into. So he would just accrue a bunch of XP and wait, and then dump it all on one shot. Because we were pretty good at most every other thing already, anyway.
All right, yeah. So we'll leave going over the math for later. That's something that you guys can kind of do, either as we're talking or later on. We have rank, which nobody has right now, which hasn't changed. Wealth. You guys do have debt. But again, that hasn't changed. Yeah, you started off with debt from your
from your suits.
Oh.
That was one of the things I said. You guys could either start with 0 cost suits, or we could start with, I believe, what yours were 3 or 4.
They could have been 5. I think we had 5-point suits.
I don't think they were 5.
I'm pretty, because the math that I have and everything that I have saved is 5-point suits.
Well, but you guys have upgraded.
Oh, maybe. I don't remember that.
I'm pretty sure it was 3. You know what it was? Is that very, very first game, that one shot that we did, you were running 5-point suits.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure these ones are 3 points. So you are, 3 rep in debt with the organization. Let's see. We have Knowles. The one thing that has changed with Knowles is I have decided to shrink the size of them. It just felt too big, like, especially oh god, why can't I remember the name of it? Ingram. It felt like at least the idea of like this mega city just doesn't fit with the world concept. The fact that this giant, even having like 1,000 people all gathered together just is a lot for here. So I've shrunk it down pretty significantly. I've included now scrubs as like the base level of a null. After all, they are, pretty much where every null area started, right? So that's going to be your smallest size. And then we're going to build, think of it kind of like if you watched Walking Dead, right? Like if they came across like any type of like society that was protected, it was like a street, right? It was like a couple of dozen houses at the most, right?
Yeah.
Even like if it was like a few different streets, like that was massive. You look at Last of Us, right? Those like the massive cities that survived there were still only like a few blocks, right? It was at most like maybe a couple hundred people, and those were like those were the ones that had survived the longest, that had government backing and all this kind of stuff. Right. So I've really kind of shrunk that down. So just like that is one thing that will change the narrative of the game, kind of. So Ingram is now going to become smaller. But at the same time, we really haven't explored too much of Ingram anyway, so I'm not sure it'll change too much. We've dealt with like a bar and a pawn dealer, and that's about it. So
and the hospital.
And the hospital, yep.
Or
yep.
clinic, or whatever we want to call it.
Right.
It could be downgraded from hospital to like, clinic or whatever.
Well, yeah. Well, my idea too was, I think what would kind of make sense is you think of like a mining facility. Well, John, you know about mining facilities.
We have a clinic.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm thinking is kind of it's like a large building, right? And then there's also some satellite buildings all around it, and like people have probably also built up like their own little houses and things like that, but it's all kind of encapsulated in this like this largish area, but this area directly over the mine nonetheless. So other than that, nothing else has really changed for Knowles. For the burnt, that as well has changed a little bit. And we'll get into it when we go over the suits and that stuff. But I've shrunk down the numbers, mostly to simplify the math. So we still have zones within, but I'm not counting the size of each zone. It's kind of, I've realized that was kind of pointless. So we're still going to have the distance from one knoll to another, but instead of being like 1,200 blocks or 1,100 or something like that, it's going to be like 8, 12, 15. Like it's going to be a lot smaller to help with the math and just progress that a lot faster so it keeps things easier. If we can do it, I'd much prefer everything to be able to do head math rather than requiring a calculator.
Well, when we talked about it too, it was like, if these suits are running at 70 miles an hour, you could make it from here to Vegas in a couple of hours, and that doesn't seem like the size
Right.
and scope that we've been talking about.
Yeah. And also like block, like, yeah, we kind of have a general concept of what a block is, but at the same time, it's a nondescript unit of measurement, right? So it's whatever you want it to be, in essence. Yeah. So, but yeah, I want to really kind of keep the numbers as small as possible, just so that it's easier for everybody to do on a sheet of paper or in their head. Getting a job, that didn't change. We have the gear now, so we're getting into suit building now. So the couple things that did change, speed is going to be significantly smaller. So now it's just going to be your speed number. You know how before it was like, it's just going to be your grace plus whatever speed bonus your suit gives you, and that's your speed. You don't now have to like multiply by 60 to give you speed, blocks per hour and all that kind of stuff. Don't worry about that. What speed is now is it's going to be your grace plus your suit's speed bonus. And that is going to give you what I'm calling blocks per cycle. And we'll get into it, but the cycle is the amount of power that your suit uses. So whatever that drain is a cycle. And then your speed is however many blocks you run in that period of time. So it's kind of all tying the mechanics of the suit together. So let's actually, I think the easiest thing might be is to start with Huxley's suit.
Damn it. Oh.
Yeah, go ahead. So most of the things, names of things and everything didn't change. So you'll be able to still have, your same battery, all your same parts and everything like that. It's just the math for those has now changed slightly.
Okay. So hit me up. So what do we got?
So you still have, Huxley still has the basic suit, right?
Yeah, I think it was
the basic frame.
Yeah, I think it was light, I guess.
Yep. Which is now, I'm toying with names. Now it's the quote unquote bargain frame.
Oh, bargain frame. Okay.
Yep.
Skinny, non-fat.
Yeah.
It's the Vente frame.
So that suit has 0 speed bonus. It provides +1 shielding. I know we had toyed with naming of that. In the end, I'm sticking with shielding because that's you look at anything online, right? If you look at anything, like it's radiation shielding. Yeah. That's what it is. That's what they call it. So that's what I'm calling it. We're just going to have to get through the fact that you also could potentially have a shield, which does something different.
Yeah, but I don't think that's too. I think if you're talking about, if someone's in some kind of mech suit, there's going to be a shielding on it, and if you carry a shield, that I don't think that's too confusing. And if you're role playing and you can't separate them, you haven't been playing long enough. Then
And presence is no longer a thing, right?
Presence isn't. Yeah, that hasn't been a thing for a long time.
Okay. I mean, it's on the.
I don't even think we ever used it. It never came. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you have Do you have the new suit sheet?
No, because I'd have to print it and write on it. I'm just jotting down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah. So take notes. We'll do that later. Hopefully, I'll have a fillable one soon. And then the bargain frame does also have one drain. So one thing that I'm going to get into, we might as well talk about it now. I got rid of carrying capacity. The reason for that is, I want to get into the smallest amount of things to deal with, the smallest numbers we can. I felt like once we plugged in the numbers for a run and we calculated, the power that you would use and all that kind of stuff, we never thought about power ever again. Right? It came up as like mentioning it of like, oh yeah, we have enough power, or occasionally it was like Smokey, like, oh, well, if we hang around, Smokey's going to run out of power. So I guess we'll just go. Right. But outside of that, it was never really a thing. So I want to really bring that to the forefront. So carrying capacity is no longer a thing. When you take on cargo or, salvage or anything like that, adding extra weight to your suit increases the drain. Think of it like when you're driving a car. If you're driving it completely unloaded, you get your maximum miles per gallon. If you then throw in 500 pounds worth of cargo into the back of your truck, your miles per gallon are going to drop. It's the same thing for your suit. If it's just you in your suit, you're going to run at maximum at your, optimal drain. Once you start adding cargo to it, once you start picking up extra things along the way, that's going to add to the drain of your suit, and that's going to, increase the amount of power that you're using. Okay. And it's really kind of tying all of that into a single mechanic and bringing that more towards the front. So the bargain suit has one drain. I believe you had the orb battery, right?
I believe I did, yeah.
All right. So that is going to be 25 power generation.
Okay.
At one drain.
Okay.
I ultimately did decide, batteries weigh stuff. So bigger batteries are going to weigh more. So, let's see. What did you have? Was it the hydraulic actuators?
I have on this sheet it just says speed 2.
That will probably be the hydraulics then. I don't think you've spent extra money on those. So it's going to be a speed 2 and a drain 2.
So hydraulic, speed 2, drain 2. I'm going to see if I can find the other sheet.
Should probably be in our Discord.
It might be. That's why I thought it was. Oh yeah, because that was a 80 power gen, so that was definitely a different suit.
Yep.
I don't know if I have these other. I don't know if I have like the actual breakdown.
Oh no,
of the suit because it's not in the folder with our runners game stuff.
I know the only thing that you've spent money on so far was I think more plating or another filter.
I
can't remember.
upgraded. So I had a medium suit. So the next line says "can do." I don't know what the fuck that was.
No idea.
And then hydraulic. I assume that's the actuators. So yeah, it was.
Oh, yep.
And then I think I upgraded from fiberglass filters.
Probably to the carbon. Yeah.
I think so. I have so many things open now. So I have a filter. It was a cost 1, shield 2.
Yep, that's going to be the carbon. So now it's going to be shield 2 and 1 drain.
Shield 2, 1 drain. Wow, everything costs drain now. What the hell, dude?
Well, because there's no size. So initially, so that's one thing that you're going to notice is that instead of something taking up room on your suit, it now adds to the drain.
Okay.
And then I think you had what, plascrete?
Yeah, it was 3-3. So it's cost 1, -1 speed, 3 shielding, 3 armor.
I think I lowered that. So do you have the plascrete or the CMF?
It might be CMF.
CMF. All right. So the CMF is -1 speed, 3 shielding, 2 armor, and 1 drain.
Okay. And what's that called now?
That is CMF.
CMF. Yep.
And then whatever, you didn't have a CAP. You didn't have an assist as an assistant.
Was there a cost for the CMF?
Cost 2.
2? I don't know that I had that then. So on my original sheet, it says Flexlex. Was that the shielding?
That was the So that's the lowest one.
Okay, so
maybe you upgraded to the plascrete then.
Maybe.
So that in that case, that'll be a -1 speed, 2 shielding, and 1 armor, and 1 drain.
Okay, I don't think it's that because I had like 5 shielding.
Yeah. So it's the CMF probably then.
Okay. And then the MK1.
Oh, you did? Really? All right. So the MK1 now is 0 drain, and it provides +1 mapping.
+1 mapping.
Yeah, so with the tags, because again, trying to simplify things. Your suit is now, certain parts are going to have a quote unquote build tag. These are going to be potentially a little, directed more towards your suit's functionality. And they might be a little more limiting than your training or anything like that. But, I still want to give them some variability. So.
Okay. I said short range sensors.
+1 awareness and 1 drain. And mounting and everything is still the same, so those ones mount on the top.
Okay. Com set I think we had for free, right?
Yep, so that's going to be the radio. And then, because I changed it. I realized com set is just a communication setup. That was kind of silly. So I changed it to radio communications. That makes more sense. Okay. And that's going to be 1 drain.
Okay, 1 drain. Geiger counter.
Where'd that go? Here we go. Geiger counter is 1 drain and analysis +1.
Now, is that a constant drain, or is that only if we choose to turn it on, or is it assumed?
So the assumption with drain is that it is something that's on all the time. If you want to turn it off to conserve energy, you can. You just won't get that bonus.
Gotcha. Okay, and then gyro
is balance +1 and drain 1.
And then it was rucksack, kinetic knuckles, snub. No, this can't be that. Is that? No, this is the wrong fucking suit. God damn it.
Oh, you're a horrible human being.
Yep, this was the trooper, and that he's running the Medicus. Son of a
You just did
bitch.
all that for nothing.
I'm like, I don't have kinetic knuckles.
All right. Well, you know what? All right. So let's go. Let's go everyone all at the same time then. So we can just lump this. So you're all gonna have the bargain frame. We all started at that. So that is 0 speed, 1 shielding, and 1 drain.
Well, hold up. What were you just saying?
Yep. Yeah. So the bargain frame has a 0 speed bonus. So that doesn't add to anything.
So where does that go on this sheet then?
Let's see. Where is my suit sheet? Open. My folder is closed for some stupid reason. System, into the core, into that. Character sheet. Oh no, I want suit sheet. That's right.
Should have had 6 shielding.
6 shielding. God damn, dude.
1 from the chassis,
All right.
2 from the filter, and 3 from the shielding.
So in the shielding, in the suit sheet, you're gonna have up at the top your model and your call sign. That's flavor. That's whatever you want to put in.
Yeah.
And then right under that we have your armor, your power, your shield, and your speed.
Yep.
So you see in the speed, there's that little G. You
Yep.
can go ahead and write in whatever your grace number is there, because that's going to add to your overall speed.
Okay. So tiny.
And then, whatever bonuses we get from the suit are going to add to that number.
Okay.
So far with the regular, with just your basic frame, it has no speed bonus. You are going to get a +1 to your shielding, and it's going to be 1 drain. So you see where under the power block, there is the first bar is G. That's going to be your power generation, which comes from your battery. And then the next one is a D. That's drain. And that's going to be your kind of cumulative number that we're going to build up.
Okay. So does the power come from that sheet, that +1 shield, or is that I'm just putting the +1 shield under shield?
Yep. +1 shield under shield.
Okay, cool.
And that number is gonna build up once we get into the filter and the plating and whatever else you have. Let's see. So we know Hux and the Medicus had the orb. I don't know if you guys upgraded from. I know you originally had the LIS batteries. I don't know if you. I think. Let's see. It looks like Smokey and the Boomer did upgrade to the orb, and so did Zuchi in the T-71. For some reason, I have like you two. I have all of your parts written down, and I do not have the Medicus.
So under orb, I have a slash, and it says Ruden, RUDEN. What does that mean?
RYDEN.
Or RY Raiden?
Raiden.
Yeah.
Raiden. Did you upgrade to the Raiden?
Yeah.
Well, those are the upgrades that me and Smokey both got, right? I thought we did.
Possibly.
Because we did a bunch of work to your suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible that you upgraded to the Raiden then.
Yeah, because I wrote it there, so I'm assuming that's what that is.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so in that case, Zuchi is going to have the Raiden battery. That is 30 power gen. And 1 drain. So that's going to be an additional 1 drain on your suit.
Okay.
Kevin, unless you have something different, I have you down as the orb battery.
No, I had the Raiden. So you said 30 power.
Oh, you have the Raiden as well. So yep, that's 30 power and 1 drain.
Okay.
Have you found the Medicus yet, John?
No, well, because the sheet didn't have like it just says chassis, reactor, actuators, but it wasn't
Yep.
fillable. So it just
Mm.
has like so it says actuators, 0 cost, 2 speed. That's all it says on the sheet.
And some of that math has changed now in the game.
Right.
So let me. All right. What we'll do, I don't necessarily want to do it now, but what we'll do later is compare the version 7 to the numbers that you have, and we'll be able to figure out what parts you have and upgrade them to the new one.
Okay.
I'll
buy that for $1.
See. For actuators, it looks like the Boomer had coilovers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is going to be 1 speed, plus 1 speed, and 1 drain. And the T71 had comb drive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be plus 2 speed and 1 drain. You're fast.
I hope so.
Both, let's see, carbon and carbon. You both had the carbon filter.
Yep.
So that's going to be 2 shielding and 1 drain. We had plascrete. Both had plascrete.
I have.
Unless you've upgraded.
I had CMF.
Oh, did you have CMF? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, look at you guys.
Yeah, we both did.
All right. So the CMF plating is going to be -1 speed, plus 3 shielding,
plus 3,
plus 2 armor, and 1 drain.
And that costs 2, right?
That costs 2, yeah.
1 drain.
If you want to like keep track of the value of your suit, yeah.
Well, just so yeah, I mean, because it's
let's see. It looks like both of you had the MK1, so that's going to be plus 1 mapping at 0 drain. And then,
so where's the mapping go then on this?
That is going to be towards the bottom. There's a block that says build and level.
Okay.
So that's going to be all your build tags. So everything that comes from your suit descriptions from this point on is most likely going to be a build tag.
Okay.
Let's see. Both had short sensors. So that's going to be awareness plus 1 at a 1 drain. Actually, I don't know if the T71 had. I don't have any of your attachments down, so I don't know if you had. I'm assuming you had sensors, since
I'm pretty sure we all
it's
had
0 cost.
Yeah, I think we talked about it. Yeah.
Same thing with the radio too. We all had radios.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So the short sensor, just to make sure you keep track of the mount placement too. The short sensor is at the top. And your radio communications is 1 drain, and it mounts on your head. The only special things I had for the Boomer, for the Smokey's suit, is I did have that you had the twin tube shock absorbers. So those are going to be plus 2 speed at 2 drain.
Speed with 2 drain?
Correct.
Okay.
Let's see. The Boomer also had the Geiger counter, which is analysis plus 1 and 1 drain.
+1 analysis and 1 drain. Okay.
And then you just had the basic. So I changed up the storage a little bit. So now your basic kind of carrying thing is just a regular mount. You have your storage mount, and that's what I was thinking. The thought I had was almost like just like a setup of like super strong magnets on your back, and they just take the cargo and go and like attach it to you. Upgrading from that point allows you to carry extra cargo without affecting your drain. So we'll go right now. You have the mount, the storage mount that takes up your back slot.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like the basic. Do you know if the T-71 had any extra stuff on it, Kurt?
Well,
I don't know if you went for like any shock absorbers or thrusters or
no,
any augments.
I only have like simple things like a field knife, armor. I don't know I don't know. That's just something. I don't remember what there was some specific thing for that, and I don't remember what that was. And
did you maybe have just like a basic shield?
Maybe
was that it, or yeah.
And then I had that as we were kind of talking about my character and some of his knowledge with animals or whatever. We put like a sprayer unit in the other.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah. So now that we have the basics, we kind of have the basics of the suit. So you're gonna see, for instance, what's the Kevin? What's the drain on the boomer right now?
The one I have. Trying to see which part is that. I'm trying to look on the sheet because I had the fillable one, but I think I overwrote some stuff. So.
All right, so let's see. Your drain, you'll see you had the bargain, so that's 1. You had the ride in, that's 2.
Yeah, I'm trying to see because I have it here. I'm just trying to see which column because I had it all written down. I have power and size, so I have 5 power, so 5 drain originally.
Oh, there we go. Yep. Yeah.
Because I also have
right now.
Yeah, so the extra stuff, unless the extra stuff, you're going to put some drain on it. I had a flare, a shield, the snub pistol, a field knife, and then the flamer. I don't know if any of those.
None of that takes up.
So. Okay,
yeah,
that's
none of that takes
yeah.
up.
So my drain was 5.
So the one, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Originally.
So So what will happen now is so Smokey in the boomer. Each cycle, you'll use up 5 power, right? Because you have 5 drain, so that's 5 power. What is your speed? So it's going to be whatever your grace is plus whatever bonus you get from the suit.
So my grace is 2.
All right.
And the suit bonus, I'm trying to see where that was.
So that's 1.
I had size 13.
See, size is no longer a thing.
So my speed on here, I had 300 originally. So
yeah,
I'm trying to see how that.
So let's see
down.
what you are now. So that's 1, 2, back down to 1, and then you had the twin tubes, which brings you to +2. So that's going to be a +3 from your suit
for speed.
Yep, and then you already had a 2 from your grace, so that's 5.
Okay.
So, yep. So you have 5 drain per cycle, and you are able to run 5 blocks per cycle. That's our math.
I'm gonna have to dump a bunch of shit because if everything is what I think it is, my drain's 11.
Oh Jesus, that has to have changed because the numbers got a lot smaller.
No, with the new math, because
I've got
the new math, you're at 11.
The frame is 1, The orb battery is 1. The hydraulic
Yep.
actuators are 2. Carbon filter is
Yep.
1. CMF is 1. Radio is 1.
Yep.
Sensor is 1. The
Radio-
shock absorbers are 1. The Geiger counter is 1. The gyro is 1. That's 11.
So I have
Holy
8
crap.
with the new. With
Oh,
the
you have
new-
8 with everything.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
the new ones. So that would be 8 drains
Yeah.
per cycle, and I can do 5 blocks.
There you go.
So you
Yeah.
said 5 blocks per cycle, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yep.
Yeah. So,
So,
what'll happen? So using the boomer as an example, right? Say we had a run. So what are you? You're 8 drain and 5 speed.
Mhm.
So say we had a run that was to make things nice and round, 15 blocks, right? So if we have 15 blocks, all we do is 15 divided by 5 because you can run 5 blocks, all right? So that means that you run 15 divided by 5 is 3. So that run is going to be 3 cycles for you. And then from that point, you take your drain. 8 times 3
24.
is 24. And there we go. So your total power demand for a 15 block run is 24 power. Because your battery is 30, you now have 6 extra power. So you have a power reserve of 6.
And I
will
think,
have to
John,
It's that
completely
easy.
redesign the suit then, because I can't run with this. It's non-functional.
oh, because you have the
Wow.
orb battery, right?
At 11, my power is 25, so I can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I'll have to redesign the suit from the ground up. I don't know how much
Yeah.
rep that we had to spend, because if I have the math right, that's 1, 3, 4, 5. So maybe we spent 2 rep.
You did, yeah. Yep.
Okay, so I got a 5-point suit to build.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll have to do, because I won't be able to use this.
Yeah, that's a smaller battery too.
Yeah. What did you have that you
Yeah.
always had?
Well,
extra
originally it
power,
was
though?
80. The orb was 80 before.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so that's
Even
why.
the Raiden, so I haven't changed the order of the batteries. I just changed the amount that they give. So they upgraded to the Raiden, which is a significant advancement over the orb. But for some reason, you stayed back at the orb.
Yeah, because it was 80 power and I never
It was,
ran
yeah.
out. Because I was always the one who had extra with 80. That's why they upgraded. And then
Right, yeah.
Kevin still almost ran out. So I don't know that math checks out, because he almost ran out on the last run and I still had tons of power left over.
Weird. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Well, yeah, because if you're changing the amount of the orb, then that would be, because I thought the orb was higher up, and now it looks like it's lower down. Then
So in shrinking the blocks down and everything like that, I also shrank it therefore shrinks the amount of power that's used in a run. So I made all the numbers smaller. So all the batteries lowered in their power generation by an equal ratio of each other.
okay.
Yeah, because the orb was 40, the Raiden was 80.
Yeah.
I don't know, because the Medica sheet says 80, so maybe I had a Raiden.
You quite possibly did that.
Because it's marked, because again, it's not fillable. So it was cost 1, power
Right,
80.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll figure that out.
Because the Raiden was a cost 1. Yes, it was probably that.
Yeah, it was probably the riding then. But yeah, so the whole purpose of this is, like I said, just to be able to do the math out as quickly as possible, as easy as possible, right? Like we just found the boomers, power demand. The power demand is how much power you're going to use on a run, right? How much theoretically you need, outside of, having to divert because of trouble, finding salvage along the way. Obviously, those things are going to affect that number, but your initial power demand, you'll be able to figure that out pretty quickly, and then also find out your power reserve. Now, your reserve is then going to be transferred into a pool of D6s. Anytime you want to push your suit, use some extra power, either powering up an attachment, using pushing a weapon a little harder, or even just giving a little extra into your suit. If your suits can affect your might and your grace, and you have the potential of, if you want to punch a little harder or run a little, if you want to, dodge an attack, things like that, you can push your suit a little extra harder, potentially spend that power reserve to do it, but it allows you to kind of use that extra power to your advantage. I want that to be something that doesn't just sit there and is kind of in the back of your mind. I want power to now be like the forefront of when you're out on a run. Outside of that, we went over, adding stuff, if you get into the equipment, if something has a size, it's that it equals the drain amount that's going to come into the suit. I don't think that you guys are really carrying anything too heavy. I know that like Smokey has some ablating foam and things like that, but that's a size 0.
What about the pro kits? I have 2 pro kits or 3 pro kits.
The pro kits are
Well, do we want to combine then the mechanics and the electronics into one pro kit then?
Yeah, that'll just be one kit.
Okay.
Really not sure though if I want that to weigh something or not. I'll have to think about that. I guess it really all depends on how big we're thinking those are.
I mean, it's not like carrying around a toolbox, right? Like it's.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is it like carrying around? If it is like carrying around a big toolbox, then I'd say, yeah, it deserves one size. But if it's something smaller, then I might just take that size out.
Let me check the
We'll see.
I don't remember how we landed on it last time.
I mean, I'm pretty sure beforehand it probably did have a size because carrying capacity was a thing, but
yeah,
we'll figure that out. Let's see. Yeah, in going over Smokey's suit, we already kind of went over planning the run. So we figured out, how to calculate cycles. The only other thing is, so obviously not all the time, those numbers aren't always going to fit nice and evenly in. So what I'm doing is breaking it up into 2 different types of cycles. You have your main cycles, which are, so say our run instead of 15 was 13, right? So in that case, your speed is 5. So we'd have 2 main cycles that fit in nice and evenly there. And then at that point, you'd have 3 end cycles. So it'd be that 5, 10. Those fit in nice and easy chunks. And then you have those last 3. And in that case, it would base for no matter what for everybody's suit. It is, I believe, 1 drain per end cycle. I'm actually thinking of potentially on the bottom of the sheet adding like a nice little like group of squares just so you can mark off like how many main cycles you're running, how many end cycles, just so it's like an easy visual. And that's kind of it. Some things on the GM side have changed. In terms of the run itself, it's something me and John have talked about of like turning the dial up and down on the difficulty and all that kind of stuff from zone to zone. But in general,
The hell happened?
I don't know what happened. Oh, there we go. I got worried for a second.
Yeah,
you
no,
hit a
the
button and
cat's-
you focused on yourself.
Yeah, the cat's friggin' being stupid.
Oh, there you go. The only other thing that's changed in terms of overall mechanics is bringing effects into the tag umbrella. Effects really are going to come into yes ands and no ands. With a yes and instead of instead of maybe if you're attacking somebody giving 2 damage instead of 1, you can add an effect. So make them prone or make them blind or dazed or something like that. Likewise, the GM can also do it to the players with a no and. It's just like a short 1 frame effect that comes into play. And that's really it. Pretty much everything else is the same. Really what this was about is the remathing of the training and the stats and then reorganizing the suits with the new power and drain and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
And
do you
we've
want
done
to
it.
go over, because we didn't actually math the training tags, so that's
Yeah.
pretty much the same. So like Huxley
Yeah.
had a +2 in mechanics, a +1 in medics, +1 in biology. But then it would be mechanics and electronics at +2. I mean, just
If
I
you
think
want to do that,
I'm
yeah.
gonna have extra XP to play around with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's why I kind of didn't focus too much on that. You guys can take your time, plug in your stats, figure out what extra XP you have. However you want to add up ranks in your training, go ahead.
I think I want to add another tag.
Yeah, that's fine.
So what do you think about Bookworm?
Yeah.
Because I think we've specifically said that like he's a reader, he spends downtime like doing that kind of stuff. So in the way that I would consider it would be or maybe we could call it well read. So maybe he might have some obscure bit of information or somebody had if something would come down to like say a no roll in Call of Cthulhu, like you just know this thing,
Right,
like
yeah.
a brains check. So then he would maybe have an advantage on that, depending, right? So like you can't know all the things,
Right.
but then maybe the roll determines that, right? So like if you fail, he doesn't know it, right? Or if it passed,
Right. Exactly.
like,
Yep.
he happened to read a book that had something about Hamlet in it or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Yeah, and the same goes for you two. If you are going, if you're plotting out all the stats and training and everything for your character, and you have an extra 10 XP or something like that, 10 or 20, if you want to either create a new tag to develop your character more, or if you just want to add it to your existing, if you want to bump up the level of your trainings, or if you just want to hold on to it and use it for a life shaper scene, like a character gen scene or something like that, you can. So
So how does that affect something like, say, Scout, right? So we rolled firearms and awareness under that heading, right? Like,
Yep.
as he is becoming more cognizant of the dangers and spending more time in the burnt, he's developing skill set that would allow him to succeed at doing that.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this is kind of that. It's your medic and your mechanic training is what you did before you became a runner, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your new training as a scout is showing the training that you have taken up in your role in this group.
Okay, you're pretty good at this. But what about something like, now as opposed to taking a skill of, like, say, survival, I feel like that would fall under scout then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So would you just be like, oh, I want to make a scout roll to see, like, oh, can I find a fucking plant or whatever that we can turn into medicine or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It seems weird, but all right.
These are they're supposed to be a lot more generalized, right? So you don't have to worry about having a list of like 15 different skills that you've put points into. Instead, you're probably going to have like, even a high-end character, you've spent like 250 XP, you're still probably going to only have like 5 or 6 skills, right? You're going to have training in like 5 or 6 things. So,
okay. It feels weird to then like be able to add something that we haven't spent any points on, right? Like it goes against the general convention of like, oh, I have this new thing I can do now that I could just do it.
Yep.
It take a little getting used to.
Just FYI, I think that you should have a spot on one of the character sheets too for current XP as well. Oh no, you have. Is that just, I believe, like under XP available? Maybe.
I have. Let's see.
It
Is
says
that where you want that?
XP spent, XP available.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so it would be XP spent. That's how much you've currently spent on your character.
Yep.
And then available, and then total is the combination of those.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, do I need total? I guess that
I don't
think you do. Because technically you could take the XP spent and the XP available and make that
add them together.
So.
Yeah.
But, right. I mean, it's the total. The total doesn't really make a difference in terms of the numbers, right?
Yeah, it's true.
No, but if you have the space for it, I mean,
yeah.
and if it's fillable and does the math, then it's easy. Like usually, like, for total, I'll go in and if we got 2 XP, I'll add that to the total, and then it calculates back down to show me what's available.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because the core sheet that we got from Todd, it does the math, so you couldn't add it the other way around. Like, you have to add it to the total.
Yeah. Oh, I'll say the only other change that I've made is so you'll notice on because runs have gotten mechanically, theoretically shorter because of, they're shorter blocks now. What I have done is lowered the amount of radiation damage that you have to take and the number. So now it is, I believe, for every three grays you take a short-term effect. And because like we just said, like, a 15 block run is only 3 cycles, even though, well, it goes through zones and everything, but it's all smaller. And so I believe it's shrunk down to either 3 or maybe still 6. I can't remember. But the number of short-term effects before you develop a long-term has shrunk to 3. But what I ended up doing is on your stats for the character, I added a little radiation box. So you go ahead and check that whenever that comes up. And then to mirror it on the suit side, you can now break your suit. So if you're because your suit can now, at least the more upgraded suits, potentially provide a grace and or might bonus. Those are going to become a buffer between the character and the outside world. So, for instance, if your suit gives you +1 grace, right, that adds to your overall bonus. But if you take grace damage, your suit's going to take it first before you do. But if that suit stat is ever dropped to 0, that aspect of your suit becomes broken, which takes a significant portion of time to fix. So, and on the suit sheet, there's a little broken wrench that you can go ahead and check off if something becomes broken. And that's it.
Nice.
Any other questions?
So how long is it going to take before you kill us all? Not very much, I don't think.
Maybe 3 to 4 sessions at the most. We'll see.
Thanks a lot. Hey, we're going to take this new version and just ramp it up a couple of notches.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the hope of this is just that it makes it so that you don't need to write a ton of stuff down to figure everything out. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, you have to write down, like, your equipment and all that kind of stuff. But figuring out a run, doesn't require you doing long division. I want it to make it so that you can be like, okay, this, do it in your head. Here, I have all the information. So the whole goal of this was just shrinking it down, merging, or just straight up getting rid of mechanics. Like, what the fuck was the one that we never even used to begin with? Presence, right? Don't use it. Fucking get rid of it. Size and drain, they're similar enough. They affect each other. Fuck it. Merge it into one thing. So that's kind of the whole point of this. It's just simplifying it, making it easier, bringing things to the forefront, and hopefully that does the job. So,
and you're going to keep it at blocks, not zones or legs or.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I decided. I decided what's going to happen is, there was a whole thing, but in general, so cycles are going to be on the player side, right? Your suits are going to deal in cycles. You're going to drain a certain amount of power per cycle. You're going to be able to run a number of blocks per cycle. Boom, that's on your side. Zones are going to be on the GM side. When you're in a run, you're going to have a certain amount of zones. You guys don't necessarily have to worry about that. It's all kind of a metaphysical, like, these are kind of where troubles might happen.
Right.
And that's all on my side. So you guys don't really necessarily have to worry about that. So.
But it makes the world, it makes the world smaller, so it makes it a little bit more personal and a little bit more immediate.
Yep.
Right. And it still may take us 12 hours to get from one place to another. It's maybe a little bit more abstract, right? So those 3 cycles may still take, 10 hours or something.
Right.
Because the suits are slower.
It's just, well, it's just not putting it down on paper officially, right? Beforehand, you ran a certain amount of blocks per hour, and your run was going to take these many hours. Mm-hmm. Narratively, you can still make it happen that way, right? We can still say, like, a 12 block run takes 9 hours, right? We can still say that. We can make up whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
As long as in a game, you like the GM keeps it consistent, that's all that counts. But I could make it so that a block is an hour. I could make it that a block is 10 minutes. As long as, like, I keep that, as long as we all keep that consistent within our shared world, that's all that counts. Table to table, who gives a fuck?
Right. I feel like there has to be some minimum number though, right? Because if a block is 10 minutes and it's 10 blocks, like, well, almost anybody could do this then, right? Like there has to be some amount of like, this is far enough that someone's not just gonna do it.
Well, anybody in a suit is going to be able to do it, right?
Yeah.
You still step out there and like, I think I say like cargo shorts and some work boots. Like you're gonna fucking die. You're gonna take on, like, even in like a half hour, right? You're gonna take on like 30 something grays worth of radiation, and you're gonna survive 5 days and then die.
Yeah.
So
all right, that's fair.
All right. Anything else you guys got?
Nope. Bye.
No, I'm good.
Just kidding.
I was like, fuck, he left.
Oh, that was perfect.
His finger was hovering right over that button too. So.
Yep, I couldn't wait to do it.
Oh. Yeah, like I said, there's a bunch of stuff on the GM side that's changed. Well, not a bunch, but a handful of things. But overall, as far as you guys are concerned, and as far as like the overall game is concerned, we hit the major points.
Okay,
So,
cool. Good. I got to rebuild everything this week.
yeah.
And
it does actually look like I'll take a look at this. I might end up changing it. But as far as the rules are written right now, for every 3 gray of radiation damage you take a short-term effect. So I'll let you guys know I'll update the rules if that does change and send out a new PDF for you. But yeah, right now, 3 radiation damage, short-term effect, 3 short-term effects, you gain a long-term.
Okay.
3 and 3. Oh, yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, cool. I guess we're going to go.
Yeah. Thank you guys for sticking through this. And honestly, like you playing this, like, I know this is like, even though this is technically a play test, but we don't treat it as that because we just play the characters anyway. But you guys doing the runs, even if you didn't mean to, even if you didn't know you were giving me a ton of feedback just in what you guys interact with, what you don't interact with.
Mm-hmm.
Lets me know what needs to change. So our dozen sessions that we played were the impetus for all these changes in the system.
This is your guys' fault.
I hope it is. I really hope it's made it a better game because of it. We'll find out. This is why I keep all my old versions though, just in case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have them too. I have them on a folder. Everything you send me.
I'll email you my address so you can send a check to me. Thank you.
Perfect. At the very least, I'll give you a byline.
Yay!
Well, I mean, it's why you play test, right? I mean, I like the old system. This one feels, it feels weird because it's different, right? Especially from what we've been doing. But then, until you get in there and start mucking around with it, you don't really know. And this could be 10, 1,000 times better than what we were doing.
My feel for this is like the older version, the one we were playing is like D&D 3, like 3rd edition. And this feels more like 5th, right? Like same flair, same feel, like same concept and everything, just concentrated.
And this is probably
that's my hope.
It may be wrong, but the feeling I get is you free up a bit on the character side for more narrative to play into it, and then the suits are the more crunchy rolls kind of thing. So
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think it plays more into the cinematic nature of what core is supposed to be, right? So like, yeah, you can make that survival role if you have scout, because like you just see the character do all of the cool things in the movie, and you don't wonder, well, how did he know that he should pick the king's foil to cure the poison or whatever? He's a fucking ranger. Like all of these things happen. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yep.
So it fits the bill for what core is supposed to do.
Yeah.
As opposed to the mechanical of like, I gotta buy this and then this and then this.
Yep. And if you or the 1.5 people who have listened to this, if you have a better name for training, please let me know. I've bounced between training, skills, traits, all this kind of stuff, and I haven't settled on one because one doesn't feel like it encompasses everything I'm trying to get at with this mechanic. Yeah. But for the love of God, if you have something, please let me know.
Well, I think the training thing fits in, right? And because you're coming in, you're learning to be a runner, and you're building up. So I think the training fits in. It's a good descriptor.
No, it's the idea of it fits. I don't always like 2-syllable words.
Need something more snappy.
Right. I wanted something like a little more like pow, but like you said, training, it fits. But yeah.
I mean, if you're going for 1 syllable, maybe gifts, but I don't know. You're gifted at doing this or that. I was just trying to think of something that was one syllable.
Right, yeah. Even thesaurus.com has failed me, so I don't know.
You've been there and done that then.
Oh, but yeah, thank you guys for, helping me do this and taking the ride with me. So
yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a cool system that you created to play, with the runner system. So I mean, it's been a blast to play it. So thank you for creating it and running it.
That's good. All right, get us out of here.
Yeah, we'll take us out. Thanks for watching. Again, this one was a little different. So if you watched the whole thing, thanks for sticking through. It may not be all that riveting, I guess, but it is part of an ongoing playtest. So this is the sausage being made. So yeah, we'll have to figure out how I'm going to release this, but that's neither here nor there. So thanks for checking it out. Ratings and reviews on iTunes or whatever your podcatcher of choice is. Not Google Podcasts, because fuck Google and they killed it because they're a piece of shit. So there's that. The Eagles suck. Fuck the Jets. Cool. Thanks for watching. We'll see you.
Hey, my Reds are in the playoffs. Screw you.